diner was almost empty that night, the kind of emptiness that echoed loneliness. Rain tapped gently against the glass windows, and the fluorescent lights inside buzzed softly, fighting the gloom outside. Ethan sat in his usual corner booth, staring blankly at his cold coffee. He'd been coming here every night for months. Same booth, same order, same hollow silence. The waitress, a woman named Lily, always greeted him with the same tired smile, though she never pried into his quiet misery. But that night, everything changed. When she slipped him the bill, there was something written in blue ink at the bottom. Words that made his heart stop. It said, "If you don't come, it'll be too late. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the mysterious ways life brings people together, then please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Because what happened next might just remind you that sometimes one small act can save a life." Ethan Reed was a man who'd once had everything: an engineering job in Seattle, a cozy home, and a wife who used to laugh like summer rain. But 2 years ago, everything fell apart. A car accident took Emily from him, and he'd never been the same since. He stopped living and merely existed. Every day was a copy of the last. Wake up, stare at the walls, go to work without speaking, and end the day sitting in that same booth at the diner. He wasn't sure why he kept coming. It wasn't the food. Maybe it was the familiarity, the illusion of human connection from across the counter. Lily worked the night shift most days. She was in her early 30s, her eyes soft yet shadowed, as if she carried her own storms. She was kind, the kind of kind that went unnoticed. She'd refill Ethan's coffee without asking, sometimes leave a cookie beside his cup. Once, she slipped a napkin beside him when she noticed he was crying without tears. She never said anything, never asked. Ethan thought she was just another quiet soul lost in her own battles. He never imagined she was fighting something far darker than his grief. That night when she left the message, he read it again and again. "If you don't come, it'll be too late." Come where? Too late for what? His mind spun. He looked up, but Lily was gone. The clock struck midnight, and a younger waitress said Lily had clocked out early. He went home confused, the note folded tightly in his jacket pocket. The next morning, he couldn't shake it off. He tried to convince himself it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe she meant the diner was closing early. Maybe she'd written it on the wrong receipt. But something deep inside him whispered otherwise. Something about those words felt desperate. That night, he returned to the diner earlier than usual. The same empty booth, the same hum of lights, but no Lily. He asked the manager casually, trying to sound calm. The man sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "She's been having a rough time," he said quietly. "Didn't show up tonight. Said she might not be back for a while." Ethan's stomach twisted. That note wasn't random. He knew it now. He found himself standing outside the diner, rain pouring again, hands trembling. He had her full name from the receipt, Lily Hart. It wasn't much, but it was something. He couldn't explain why he cared so much, but maybe it was because, for the first time in years, someone had reached out, even if it was in a cry for help. He searched her name online, scrolling through endless results until he found a small article from a local newspaper. It was about a woman who had lost her daughter 2 years ago. The name matched. His breath caught in his chest. The article said her 6-year-old daughter Ava had died in a fire that destroyed their apartment building. Lily had survived, but she never spoke publicly after that. The landlord had blamed faulty wiring. Lily had blamed herself for lighting a candle that night. Ethan closed the laptop, feeling something crack inside him. He understood her silence now. Pain recognized pain. The next day, he drove to the neighborhood mentioned in the article. The building was gone, replaced by an empty lot surrounded by rusting fences and wild grass. A few blocks away stood a small church with a soup kitchen tonight sign outside. He parked his car, walked in, and froze. Behind a counter of steaming trays, wearing a worn apron, was Lily. She looked thinner, paler, her smile fragile. When she saw him, her eyes widened in shock, but also something like relief. She didn't speak, just motioned for him to wait. When the line thinned, she walked over, wiping her hands nervously on her apron. "You came," she whispered. Her voice trembled, but there was a faint smile. Ethan nodded, unsure what to say. "You wrote it," he murmured. "The note." She nodded again, tears already pooling in her eyes. "I didn't know who else to reach out to," she said softly. "You always looked like you understood sadness. I thought maybe you'd understand mine." They sat on a bench behind the church, the rain falling lightly now. Lily told him everything. After her daughter's death, she'd spent months in hospitals, struggling with guilt and depression. Working at the diner was her attempt to feel normal again, but lately the darkness had been returning. She'd written the note because that night she had planned to end her life after her shift. She hadn't expected him to show up, but part of her hoped he would. Ethan sat in silence, tears streaming freely down his face. He couldn't find words, only the ache in his chest. Then he said quietly, "You saved me too, you know. You were the only person who made me feel seen again." That night they sat there for hours, two broken souls sharing the same rain. Over the next few weeks, Ethan kept visiting her, not at the diner, but at the church. They began volunteering together, handing out meals, cleaning tables, serving coffee to strangers who carried stories heavier than their own. Slowly, Lily started to laugh again, and so did Ethan. The cracks in their hearts didn't disappear, but they began to fill with light. Ethan started rebuilding his life. He took up painting again, something he hadn't done since Emily's death. He painted the faces of people at the soup kitchen, the smile on Lily's face when she played with children there. Lily, too, began to dream again. She applied for counseling classes, wanting to help others like her. One evening, months later, as the sun dipped behind the church windows, she handed him another note, this time with steady hands. It said, "Thank you for coming that night. You didn't just save me. You reminded me I still mattered." Ethan read it, smiling through tears. He folded the note and placed it beside the first one, the one that had changed both their lives. Life didn't magically fix itself. They still had bad days, moments when grief crept back in. But now they faced it together. Sometimes they'd sit at the same booth where it all began, the diner now brighter, the coffee warmer, the silence comfortable instead of cold. And one rainy evening, as Ethan looked out the window, watching the drops slide down the glass, Lily whispered softly, "Do you ever think maybe people meet for reasons we'll never understand?" He smiled, looking at her reflection. Maybe the reason is to remind each other that we're still alive. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Because sometimes one small act of kindness can change the ending of someone's story. Before the ending, I want to ask you something special. Comment below, "I believe in second chances." A few years later, that same diner placed a small photo on its wall, a picture of Ethan and Lily serving meals together at the church. Below it, a handwritten note read, "If you don't come, it'll be too late." And every night, strangers would look at it, pause for a moment, and maybe, just maybe, choose to reach out before it was too late for someone else. Because sometimes saving someone doesn't mean pulling them out of a burning building. Sometimes it just means showing up when no one else does.